Wow, wow, wow. Welcome everyone
Oh, we're
to,
having an error.
yeah, Lynette, we've missed you. It's good to have you join us today on this um, empowerment moment. It's beginning of August. No, we're actually almost halfway through August. What am I talking about? I need to get my act together. All right. I wanted to share this on my Facebook page so that, all right, so maybe Jenny, you can tag me. I think
Sure.
that might work. All right, welcome everyone. It is so good to see all of you guys. It's been by the minute. I gotta tell you, there's so much excitement stuff happening out there. I know that most what's dominating conversation right now is the whole back to school stuff. And so Jenny and I have been talking about. So for those of you who don't know Jenny, I keep saying Jenny. So Jenny is my ace and keep me focused. I try not to drive her crazy. She's joined my family of people who know my my desire to constantly give out our best. So she knows it's like almost like the T's have to be crossed and the I's have to be dotted. And I promise you, if I'm reading a letter and I notice that there's a typo and it's tiny, the fact that it's there, we'll have to pause everything we're doing, go fix it, because otherwise I'll be thinking about it all night. It'll probably keep me up. I figure in the middle of the night, I'll have little nightmares, little letters, just like A, B, C, D, fix me now. So to avoid that, I'm like, let's fix it all. And so, um, oh, okay, looks like we're having an issue on Facebook. Wow, okay, they're gonna miss us. That's not good. We want all these people to hear about my little wackiness. It's all part of that. I want to welcome all of you guys who are able to join us. Maybe Jenny, you can try to see if we can fix it. Um, but I want to welcome those of you who have joined us today. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Lynette. Thanks, Chris. Chris, it's good to have you. I wanted to just have a little bit of a conversation about what people's thoughts are in going back to school, and then kind of share a little bit about what I've been doing. So the Empowerment Moment series started at the beginning of April, and thanks to a few people on this line who have encouraged me to continue to share and talk about it. And so it's always a good time to come together and share some of the things that we're all thinking about and the things that we're struggling with. And for me in particular, the biggest thing that's been on my mind is really how we can provide the best care or education for our loved ones who need healthcare, special education, and also have special healthcare needs. And this season has been incredibly difficult and more difficult than it's ever been. And I know everybody in the whole world, entire world, is going through one challenge or the other. But I got to tell you, for individuals raising special needs kids or individuals, adults, it is on another level. We can't even begin to articulate it. So I've asked a few of the parents who are here to kind of share their thoughts. I'll throw out some questions and then you guys can kind of share with us on what your thoughts are. But essentially, I just want you to be, free to share some of the things that has been on your heart. Um, but before we start, I always like to kind of give a word of encouragement. And for me, as a Christian, the word of God is really what helps me to be solid and grounded. And sometimes I have co-workers or colleagues that I said, I don't know how you do it, Genevieve. And I always have to tell them, listen, it is God who gives me strength. So I like to share what are the source or what is the base of my strength. And it really comes from my faith. And so I like to impart that onto you. If you are going through this season right now and you're struggling, trying to figure out how you're going to get through, join your faith with mine and let's link up together to continue to press through. And the word that God gave me this month for the month of August is bring me all your anxieties, bring me all your worries, bring me all your heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. That's coming from part of scripture of Matthew 11, verse 28 to 30. And it reads something like this. Jesus said, come to me, all of you who are tired, who are wearied, who are overwhelmed, and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Bring your challenges, bring your weariness, and take it upon me and learn from me. I'm paraphrasing it in my own words. And let me teach you because I am humble and I am gentle, and you will find rest. Basically, you'll find peace, you'll find strength for your soul from me. Because my yoke is easy and my burden that I'll give you is light. So it's basically saying we know God knows the weight you're carrying, and that weight is heavy, and you can't do this by yourself. And you're going to recognize, and the first thing in anything in life is admit that there's a lot going on with you, and it's overwhelming. The first thing is acknowledge that it's overwhelming. It is not weakness to say I have it and I don't know what to do. And I've been sharing that throughout, because the fact that you vocalize how you're feeling in itself also releases the stress associated with it. And then you can also find people who can say to you, you know what, I'm going through the exact same thing. And that's really what one of the key things that I wanted us to kind of get across to you. I also wanted to quickly share something that I was meditating on, a scripture that I was thinking about. And I've been talking a lot about this prophet called Elisha. In this season, I have this fascination about him. He's in the Old Testament. And the reason why I have this fascination is because the guy was bold, right? So he had his leader, who was a prophet called Elijah. And basically he just said to Elijah, I want double of whatever you got. So like he saw something in Elijah and he's saying, whatever it is that you have, I want double of that. Isn't that bold? Like that's like some serious boldness. But you know what is amazing is that Elijah in the scripture did a lot of miracles, but Elisha did double what Elijah did. So that means that there's something to be said about asking God for something and then believing with all your heart that you can get it. And that's really what's important in this season, is that we're walking through a journey that we're overwhelmed. We find a way to say, okay, I am, but I'm going to start to ask God to give me strength and give me wisdom. But there's a portion of this part about Elisha in the story that I wanted to quickly talk about. In the book of 2 Kings, around chapter 4, from verse 8 to 37, roughly. If you have time and you're a student of the Bible, you don't even know, you've never read it before, you can go online and you get into it, you can read it, and it tells you the story about this woman. They call it a Shunammite woman. And this woman's story is really powerful because she's a rich woman. She had everything in the world except for one thing. She didn't have a son, or she didn't have a child. And Elisha used to come into town, and this woman, as difficult as that piece was for her, she was so very nice to this man of God, and will offer food, will offer rest and everything else. And so one day the man of God was like, you know what, this woman is so nice to me, what can I do for her? And he was told that she didn't have children. So Elisha called her over and said, come. And when she came over, he's like, you know what, by this time next year, you will have a child. And she's like, listen, I did not ask you to do that. Don't raise my hopes up like that. I'm not asking you for that. Well, to make a long story short, she did get pregnant and she had a child. She had her only son. Her son was growing. And one day something happened and the boy died. And she was angry. So if you've ever heard anybody say the word "it is well," it was first coined by this woman, because she got upset about her son dying. She ran over to go back to that prophet, who she's like, I didn't ask you to give me this baby. But on her way there, she met the prophet's like servant, like, or assistant, and he's like, is everything all right? And she's like, it is well. She didn't tell him. She just says, I just need to talk to your leader. So she goes and finds Elisha and he said, come and see what you've done to me. The boy that you encourage God to let me have, I have him and now he's died. And Elisha went with her. And what's interesting is that he did the most oddest thing. Elisha laid on top of this young boy, gave him mouth to mouth, gave him mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands, and then from there, Elisha ended up having caused this boy to come back to life. So for many people who know about the story of like Lazarus coming back to life in the New Testament, somebody else came back to life in the Old Testament, and Elisha was part of that. And so the takeaway from this story that you can think about is so many takeaways, right? This woman was serving faithfully, and she was doing everything she's supposed to do. And for a lot of our parents out there, you're doing everything you can. Then all of a sudden you think things are going so great, right? School's going well. Things are beginning to get together. I know, Chris, you know what I'm talking about. Just when you thought you had things lined up for Nate, right? Then all of a sudden, COVID happens, and everything you've built up now has been completely turned upside down. Where do you start? Where do you begin? And then if you're like me, you've been like, I don't know where to even begin. You're overwhelmed. And the best part, I call it the best part, is the school has been asking me, what are you going to do? I'm like, this is so backwards. You are asking me, what am I going to do? And it's just like, I had my district call me today, like, what are you planning on doing? It's like, so I'll tell you guys more about that. So the question that, as I was reading the devotion that came up was, you've been asking God, and if you're like me, what am I supposed to do? And it seems like this, whatever you try to do, you're not hearing anything back. How many of you have felt that way? I'll throw it that way, that you feel like you don't have answers right now for what's going to happen or what you should do, right? Anybody felt that way? Yes? Okay. So I see a couple of people shaking their head, and I have a text here that says yes. So you find yourself asking God, what's going to happen? And it seems like it's taking days and months. And sometimes for me on this, journey, it seems like it's for forever. I can't tell you how many people have said they've had dreams, they've had all kind of, and I've felt it too. And I know God will do it. And day by day by day by day and year by year by year, you keep praying and hoping and believing and asking God for a breakthrough. And I got to tell you, it's coming, but it's coming in small incremental steps, and it's coming. And I believe that he will answer our prayers eventually. That's what happened to this woman. She didn't have a baby, she got one, something happened to the baby. She was almost all hope was gone, because it's gone, but there was a resurrection. So my faith tells me that even in as much as we're walking through this journey, there will be a resurrection. There will be a change. There will be a transformation. Things will turn out for its good. It may not be the way we expect it to, but I believe that it will. And I got to tell you not to give up, not to give up, not to throw in a towel. Believe that God will cause everything to kind of work itself out. That's one of the key things I wanted to share with us today. But before that, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that some of you guys have been doing. And so I will, open it up if anybody want to share. If what has been your process in terms of figuring out what to do with the new school year that's coming up? Any thoughts on what people have been doing? And I'll share the 7 things that I've been doing. I call it the 7 interesting things I have done so far, but I wanted to kind of get a sense from other people if they've what they're planning on doing, or what have you been talking about in your home? What are the strategies you're considering doing about the return to school or the re-entry to school? Any thoughts on that? No? Okay. Everybody's quiet today. Okay. All right, so maybe I'll share mine, and you can give me your thoughts on the stuff that I'm doing, and see what you think about that. So I call it the 7 things that I did. And this evening I was thinking about it, right? 7 things. First, I prayed. I prayed and asked God for wisdom. I'm serious. Like, I pray many times, but in this season, it has been like, and the reason I'm saying that is because I just didn't have a clarity per se of what to do. And I, I, I've taken it moment by moment to figure out. So first is, okay, we went into the COVID season. We're in the middle of it. What's going to happen with the schoolwork, the Zoom, the virtual? And so the first step was, my daughter happened to come home. Senna came home. So I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe you can help out with that. She's getting ready to go to school next week. So in preparing to go to school next week, I'm sitting here like, oh God, what am I going to do now? I've shared here and I actually just recently started a new job. So in starting a new work, it requires me to now have to pay more attention to, the new responsibility that I have, and then still trying to adjust to providing the services for Nick and all the beautiful things that I'm doing here with my goal, which is my commitment. So it's been a bit of a season of where I'm just feeling like I need wisdom from God. Really, I just like, okay, I you've given me this awesome assignment of my goal and Haven. And yeah, I'm talking to the teachers back in Ghana. We're talking about the kids there. What do they do? Um, and so I'm in this season of asking completely. And so what I'm sharing with you is that when you don't know quite yet what to do, there is an Almighty God who cares about you, and He will give you peace. And sometimes my answer in that time is I get a sense of peace that, you know what, Genevieve, don't worry about it. If you don't have an answer, pause. Nothing is broken. Just take it. You're healthy. Nicholas is healthy. Senna is healthy. Robert is healthy. Take it from there, moment by moment, season by season. So that's one thing that I've learned to do. So one is pray. So that's the first thing I did. Second thing is that I reached out to my state services. So for those of you who live in New Jersey, if your child is under 21, they're eligible to be registered with the state of New Jersey under Perform Care. So I will encourage you, if your child is less than 21, is Google Perform Care, like Perform Care, one word. And it's a service that's provided under the Department of Children and Family Services. And basically they provide respite. Respite is basically giving someone to give you a break. So there could be someone who can come with you to go with you to the grocery store, watch your loved one while you go to the grocery store, you take a break, because the care of an individual who requires special healthcare needs is constant and it requires support. They also kind of can provide other type of services. And I got to tell you, when we got to a season where we hit puberty and we were seeing a lot more challenges with Nicholas, I needed that extra help. And Perform Care is where I reached out to. The mobile crisis came over, and it's been a huge source of help. So I reached out to them in this season as well again. So we're talking to my case management team to look for strategies that we can utilize. So if you're a family member out there right now, part of this enduring through COVID is that you should be applying for services or supports that are there. People who have gone ahead of you, who have already experienced things like that, is very important. So God is going to give you wisdom first. You call him, then he asks you to now know what to do. So call Perform Care. Number two was that. Number three, I contacted my previous therapist for Nicholas. They have not been able to come lately, but then I reached out to them to say, what are you guys doing in this season? So we're working something out with his insurance to see what we can do so that it's not just about school, but it's also about services through private insurance. Four, he's 18 now, so he's eligible for SSI, Social Security income. So part of his Social Security income is also he's eligible for Medicaid because he's on his own, like technically, but he's not. So under Medicaid, they have a program called the Personal Preference Program, PPP. They also have a service called PCA, Patient Care Assistant. So for individuals that have severe behavioral issues, you can get like a private nursing duty. You can get medical assistance and support for these individuals as well. So you're not just only looking for the educational components, but you're looking at that too. So I reached out to my PPP and I applied in that process, and thankfully I got approved. So now that offers me an opportunity to really get somebody else besides me to support me, so I can take a break and also be able to support my other children. So what am I saying is that in this season of COVID, it's requiring us to now need more help because we can't figure it all out by ourselves, right? Number five. So first is I prayed and asked for divine wisdom. So if you're listening. Number two, apply for your state services. So all the departments and divisions that you know about. So DCF is the one for non-educational related services, respite, camp, all those other services that you can get, including getting ISS workers. So somebody to help with activities of daily living, maybe, like me, I'm responsible for, doing his activities of daily living stuff. So I need that support when I'm away and I'm at work. Some of those things are needed. So that was two. I contacted his BCBA and his previous therapist to see what they can help me with. I contacted the Personal Preference Program and the Medicaid, which is under that health services. Number four, and by the way, if you have health insurance also, you can also contact them. A lot of them, they have coordination. So care coordination is there for you. So under your mental health benefit, you may also be eligible for support. So you can get a care coordinator as part of somebody to help you to process how to make decisions. So very important to know that these are all tools that if no time like this is the time to leverage every tool that you have in your toolbox. Pull them all out at the same time and try each door until something comes through, because you're not going to just depend on school alone. I think that's really where, the wisdom that God was giving me was coming from, is that know that you need to do this. Number 5, this one was shocked me. I did this yesterday desperately. I went online and went to care.com, care.com, and then I put in help wanted, special needs for assistance. Do you know I got a hit back today? A paraprofessional not far from me who is also looking for part-time work responded. I have an interview set up on Monday with this person. So this is someone who can provide help at certain hours per week. That could be something I can now determine, train that person, have that person be part of my network. So then when I'm away at school, or when I'm even at home and I need help with getting the school remote learning and all that stuff, someone who have that background. There are a lot of teachers and paraprofessionals who are looking for jobs right now. And you're asking yourself, where do I find them? Well, care.com. They have a special ed component. It was just like divine wisdom. And as soon as I did it, I was like, oh my gosh, it just pulled such a big weight off my shoulders, because I'm just like, okay, where do I go? Who do I talk to? Where do I start? And then you're not dependent on just other people, but there may be professionals out there, and this person. And so I'm hoping that this will work out, but at least it gave me a sense of inspiration. And you can do background checks on these individuals. You can interview them, and you're going to be the one to interview them. So out of personal preference program and all these, training things, I can now hire somebody I get to pick. And that person could not be along with us for as many years as we can, because people are looking for part-time work. Then I also reached out to my attorney. Listen, that was the best conversation I had. Oh my goodness. She goes, you have your entitlement under special education, right? It's your education entitlement. The school is responsible for teaching your child, not you. My district, I found out, is creating remote learning centers for parents, for typical kids who need to go to work, and they need their child to be in a center where kids can log onto the computer. So they're making accommodations for neurotypical kids, so they can make accommodation for you. They can send a paraprofessional to your home. They can follow the same process. So why are you doing this by yourself? You don't have to. You call for an IEP meeting, and you call for it now. And you say to them, I cannot do this. What are you going to do about it? The district called me and said, what are you doing? I said, I can't make that decision. Every placement, we've always done it as a team. The speech therapist, the occupational therapist, the teacher, the parents, the students, we come together and we establish how we're going to do training for the individual. So how is this any different? Why are you asking me to make that singular decision? We're not. And, under the advisement of an attorney or even an advocate, they will tell you right now, that's what you should call for. Every one of us should be emailing our case managers. Do not make any decision on your own, because you're entitled for accommodations. And this is one of those seasons. I've learned from others that they can even contract out ABA therapists privately. If the teachers can't do it, they can do that. Send the individual to your home and help you to do it. So even if it's an hour, 2 hours, they should be able to do that. So that was what I did with my attorney. I called her. And this is somebody that I emailed about 2 weeks ago, and I said, you know what? I need to talk to you and brainstorm, because I need ideas. I can't process this by myself. Many of you may not be able to afford one, but this is why I am telling you this right now. I am getting the information. I am paying for it out of pocket, but I'm making sure you get this. So, and then the last thing that I did is I emailed my case manager. And I tell you, as soon as I emailed her yesterday, I talked to the attorney today, the district called me today. So I was able to give the district the right answer because they're like, well, what are you planning on doing? And I said to them, you'll be hearing back from me, but what I'm requesting is for us to have an IEP meeting. Then we can all decide in this season what to do. But it is their responsibility, not yours alone, because our kids need special accommodation. Some of them cannot do the computer sitting in front of it by themselves. They need a teacher. So they're asking me to sit with my child and teach him while they're watching us from the video. But in the meanwhile, we've been assigned 2-to-1 ratio, 1-to-1 ratio. So how does that work? It doesn't. And you can't use the same tools as they've always done it. So what we're saying is that, yeah, we in the spring, we didn't know what to expect, right? Because it all happened quickly. Now we're in the fall. This may go a little on longer. So what are we going to do about it? So the goal here is that we need to ensure that our kids get everything that they need and they do not regress any more than they have. What am I saying to all of us? You need to look at strategies to get your help. So we talked about pray to God for wisdom. That's what I did. So I'm downloading what God told me. I basically, like in a span of like 1 week, well, more like 24 hours. And between yesterday and today, I'm sitting here like, whoa, I'm on like a different planet now. I'm like, okay, Carrot.com is my new best friend. I've heard about it all this time. I never tried it. And now I'm like, oh, that's what people do. Hire a tutor. I hired a tutor, college student, to tutor my daughter, who is a freshman in high school. And we did an assessment, and now she's making sure she's on target. And the college student needs some money, and my kid cannot be left behind. I'm not depending on teachers alone to do that. So what I'm saying is pull out your toolbox and start unloading. Start taking things out. Use all your tools and use them wisely. And don't look into only one pathway. You need to look at multiple pathways. And that's how you're going to get the help that your child needs. So those are the 7 things that I've been doing in the last, well, I started about 2 weeks ago because I was desperate. The prayer part was serious. I was driving. I think 2 weeks ago I was talking about it. I was driving. I'm like, God, what am I going to do? And now I feel like, okay, we have a plan. It's not all up to me to figure it out, because Nicholas requires a whole village for us to get the work done. So that's kind of like where I have been, the journey I've been taking. So I hope that's helped somebody on this platform so far. Any thoughts or feedback? I know there was some comments here about needing help with IEP. I think it's important. The first thing you need to do is contact your case manager. That's the number 1 thing. Number 2, somebody talked about, practicing, she's been practicing wearing the mask with her child and taking drives. And those are really great things that you should be doing in this season. I don't know what others have been thinking about or doing. I know Jenny was talking about even for her daughter. You want to comment on it, Jenny?
Yeah, almost similar to what you're doing. We have a very small group of a couple young girls. My daughter's young. She's 3.5. A girl who goes to school for speech pathology and special education. She's all virtual this year. So she's coming to our houses, and she's going to work with the girls on like a creative curriculum with them. So similar to a tutor for them, just so they don't fall behind, they can stick with a little social engagement. Because my district is allowing preschool to go to school. My son will be in kindergarten, and he is a hybrid option. He is 3 days virtual, 2 days in school, but the preschoolers were going to be 4 days full-time in school. So we opted out for her to do that. So we're having somebody come to the house to work with her.
So yeah, so any concerns about somebody coming into your home and you're concerned that they're going to bring COVID to your house?
There is that concern. We spoke to her today. We had a meeting. She's going to give herself a temperature check every morning. She said that she would text us a picture of her forehead, of her thermometer. She said she doesn't have any contact with anybody. I guess it's a trusting game. So, it's a juggling act. There is the concern, but there's also the concern of, we can't just sit here again for another 6-7 months and hope that things go back to normal.
Right.
So I guess, for right now, I'm leaning more towards no for the concern of her contracting it, but I do think it's nice that she'll take her temperature, send that to us. We said the same thing on our end. My son's going to be going to the public school, so I wanted to make sure that she was comfortable being around me because he'll be around me. So we said the same thing. I'll take their temperature, and just be open and honest about who she's around. If she feels that she might have been around somebody, just let us know. I think honesty will be the best part of it, really.
Right. And so is there anybody else that's thinking about doing your own homeschooling?
I would say, just something to add, is that we should try our best to have gross motor things available, because I do kind of foresee this going through the winter, and a lot of the activities that are being planned is really just banking on outdoors. But that's not always practical. So if possible, I don't know how what others are considering, but definitely setting up a specific learning area with all the tools that you need, because there's also going to be an issue of availability. So a lot of these items that you would use indoors are probably not going to be available if you're not ordering them at this moment.
Right.
Yeah, and as far as the outdoor stuff, even if you do intend to do things outdoors, I would say get the propane heater now and things like that, because they're probably not going to be available in a short while.
Okay, so those are very great points. So look to order things that you might need in the winter now, so that you can do those gross motor activities. I know that people have bought trampolines, getting the balls, anything that will really help the child to move around, and so create a little obstacle course in your house that will cause them to run around and safely. Those are all things that we can do, and I think we're in a season now that we really need to realize we're going to have to be creative on how we do these things. And so that's why we wanted to do these kind of series and come and share on here with everybody, so that you're not in it alone, right? Rather than trying to figure it out all by yourself. Let's have these conversations. Let's think outside of the box. So that was a great contribution, Jenny and Sean. Anybody else? I know someone says they're doing their work virtually.
For me, hi, Dr. G. This is Bonke.
Yes.
So I joined in late, but so I am thinking we already enrolled Daniel for fall. And it's for the school district. It's 4 days in a week. That's Monday to Thursday for in person. Then Friday will be virtual. So it was actually tough for us to make the decision for him to go back to school. But at the same time, I have to go back to work fully as well. So it's kind of tough, because I know that during when COVID just started, that was around March, up until last school of summer, which was last week, I've been teaching in, and it's kind of it's different when they're home, to school. Right. So I just want him to go back to class and have that class feeling. And he's going to have another teacher as well. And because they have a smaller class, I don't know how that's going to play out. So I'm still thinking about the whole thing, but I just want to have something like a backup for him to register him in school, just in case. Right. Or, in case I want to back out, or I just want to let him go to school in September. So I'm all over the place. We're just still thinking about it, my husband and I. So.
Yeah, no, I think each district is different. For me, our school only offer 1 day in person and 4 days at home. So it's the opposite of yours. And they still don't have all their PPEs. And actually my daughter, the high schooler chose not to do hybrid, because she said she saw what they were proposing in the presentation, and she's like, it doesn't look like school, because all the things that teenagers would love to do, they're not going to be able to do it. And so she's like, you know what, it's too depressing. They show pictures of what the setting is going to look like. She's just like, you know what, I'd rather be home. There's no lunch. lunch
Mhm.
break. It just that whole concept of that made her say, you know what, I want to be home. Obviously, so we had to now think outside of the box of how do we engage her socially. So we're talking about doing some connecting her with friends. So she has that intentionality. So every district is different. And so plan that if whatever reason the school closes, what options do you have? That's why I was saying that it's important that we revisit our IEPs though. I think that's really what I want us to talk about. And remember, you can call for an IEP meeting at any time. And these days they're doing it virtually anyway. So that as a team, you make that decision. Don't make that decision by yourself is what I'm trying to say. You know,
Also, Dr. G, the other thing very important is please have your child registered. Don't disengage the school, because if you do not fill out the form, whether you're attending in person or remote, you're actually exempting yourself from services, because your child will not be considered enrolled if they're not in attendance one way or the other. So even if you're not fully participating, if you end up doing, because what happens is they default you to basically homeschool, which is very different than remote. Those are two different concepts.
well, but Sean though, but the case manager has to, for people who have IEPs, the case manager has to reach out to them legally.
Yes,
They have
yes,
to. So
yes. So I mean, just in terms of like not being disengaged, like, if you're doing your own thing, you can still do your own thing, but just make
oh
sure
no,
that
no, no. You're not.
yeah.
I'm not saying that they do their own thing. I'm saying that the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're talking to this child study team. That
Yes,
this is you cannot not you can't say I'm
absolutely.
teaching by
Right.
myself. No, that's why I'm saying that you need to engage a child study team.
Yes.
You cannot do that. You have to do that because there's still a mandate that a child needs to be enrolled in school. That's a legal requirement.
Yes. I didn't want anyone to get confused by, yeah. Yes.
So
Thank you.
you absolutely need to be engaged, connected with the school and the child study team. It's important you talk to them because you know that you don't want to give away your rights, and that's what Sean is saying, that you need to be connected to the school. You might be doing something at home, but it needs to be where it's supervised, or you come on in agreement with what kind of curriculum you're going to follow, and that's really what an IEP spells out. So for those of us whose kids are almost aging out, I know Chris is in the same boat as I am. I debated, I'm like, do I really still want him in school? And I was like, wait a minute. That's why I said, okay, now I need to really engage my attorney and figure out what is our transition plan. Because for me, it's on a different angle than other people who are right now in this stage. Somebody texted here is that they're calling SPAN, SPAN, for statewide parent advocacy network. The idea here also is that important, call your district, special education department, have that conversation, talk about what's the best thing for your child. Join all the calls that they're having with the school districts. So like I jumped on a call yesterday. The school district was having a call about what they're doing. I went in, I sat in on that. They have it recorded so you can listen in. They're doing one next week. So I'm listening in all the calls because this is my child's education and your future. And I need to make sure that I can advocate right. So if you're not at the table having a conversation, then you cannot complain. So contact your case manager. Everybody should know who their case manager is. You should bug the heck out of them, by the way. Email them. Call them. Well, if you call them, it's whatever they tell you didn't happen. So you need it in writing. So make sure there's a plan for what we need to do. So this is our time. And I know it can be overwhelming right now, but more than ever, at least the school is beginning to figure it out somehow, So we gave them grace period, but now we're like, the grace period is over. Let's not get connected, right? So that's what I wanted to kind of engage with us. But we've gotten some really great comments here. Some people are still waiting for the school to tell them how school year will look like. Listen, bombard them, email the superintendent. If you don't know who your superintendent is, email them, find your email and email the heck out of it. That's what we're supposed to do, is advocate for as parents. And so I just wanted to challenge all of us who are on here now, especially those of us who are working with life skills or vocational activities or post-secondary education transitions. It's a little bit more complex and complicated, but for even kids who are just starting, it's important. And remember, education is not just only the academics, it's also some of the related services too, the speech, the OT, as Sean mentioned, we need all those parts also, So I hope this empowers you to know that we have the next 3 weeks until school year starts. Let's get active. If we don't, there's not a plan yet, let's get active. Let's start to push it and, um, ensure that we're having conversations with them about what we're planning on doing, until we figure it out, because that's really, really important. Um, I want to thank all of you for being here. Any questions or any other comments? I don't want to cut us off soon, but the next empowerment moment will continue this conversation, because it seems like everybody's drilling down and thinking about how we can get about it and what we can do. And then services are beginning to open back up again. So as they come up, we want to be able to share that. And in September, I'm going to do something on healthcare about, I call it Get Your Facts Straight. That's what I'm calling it, on vitamins and minerals. You're hearing a lot of craziness about things people are taking to combat COVID. We're going to have some conversations about that. So that's going to be the Ask the Expert, and you're going to ask me. That's going to be on in September. So that's coming up. But at the end of this month, I'm also working with, I'm talking to Rebecca about, what she's doing in her practice and ideas that she has. And so we're going to try to engage her in conversations about that. That somebody's asking a question about busing. I got to tell you, some of the districts are not busing at all. They said no bus. So it's dependent on your district. Mine is not busing. There are too many. My kids' high school alone has over 3,000 students in it, so they can't figure out how they're gonna do it. So for that reason, they are not busing, and so parents have to figure their way out. This is where we now tap into neighbors, and we carpool and all the things that you normally do for sports. Well, that's what you have to do now until they figure it out. But if you have a hardship, please, please, please reach out to your district, because they are trying to make accommodations depending on the township you're in. That's where it will be. So I want to just encourage you with this last word. If anybody doesn't have any other questions, yes, I know I downloaded a lot to you, and I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Ronke says hers is busing. Wow, what district are you? Oh, you're in Woodbridge. So
Woodbridge, yes.
Woodbridge is busing. Woodbridge is doing
They're busing for us.
Yeah. Chris says hers is giving them an option. Wow. So it really depends on your town. That's what's happening right now, is everybody's doing pretty much every different thing. So I think it's very, very important that we engage your district, engage them. Like I said, when I found out about, they're creating these daycare, what they call learning resource centers, so that the child can be there while parents is working. They're making it happen, contact Perform Care. And, if you have that service also, so that you have that ability. So I'm going to end here by sharing a scripture, which many of you know, and some of you may not, but here it is. It says, Matthew 6:25, one of my absolutely favorite. It says, I tell you not to worry about everyday life, whether you have enough food or drink or enough clothes to wear. Isn't life more than food, and your body more than clothing? Look at the birds. They don't plant or harvest or store in barns, for their heavenly Father feeds them. And aren't you more valuable than they are? So look at the birds. Look at the birds in the air, and they don't have to worry. They get fed. So you, by worrying, cannot add a single moment to your life. You, by worrying, cannot get things done. Worrying actually takes away from your ability to think. You know that, right? So that's why we need to stop worrying. So all is very important, not to worry about what are you going to clothe the kids with. Look at the lilies of the field. Like, in other words, look at the flowers and how they grow. They don't work or make their clothing, yet they are beautiful. And so if God cares for the flowers, which are here today and thrown away tomorrow, he certainly cares for you. So why do you have so little faith, right? So don't worry about these things. What you eat, what you drink, how the kid's going to make it, they're going to be fine. These are things that people who don't have connections worry about. But God will give you what you need. So The message here is that don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. So I want to encourage you with that word. Do not worry. Do not be anxious. We're here for you as a resource. My goal is here for you as a resource. I share my own tips of what I'm doing. Others have shared their tips. But the biggest aspect of this is not to give up. And that's really my word of encouragement. Do not worry. It's all going to work out. And like I said to you, and I keep it real because I come to you and I was like, I didn't know what I'm going to do. And guess what? I prayed and we talked. I reached out to services. I reached out to everybody. I'm going to any and everyone. I'm talking to my, case manager. And yeah, Lilia, if you find your social worker or somebody's not helping you, go to another one. You can go all the way to the superintendent, right? You can write the superintendent. You have that right. Don't stop at the lowest person who gives you a hard time. Just get past them. Call the director of special ed of your town or district. March to find out the address of where the superintendent is. And if you need to go there, you park yourself there. By the way, the best thing to do when you do advocacy is bring your child with you. Take them with you and then leave them there and say, this is my child, meet them. And then when they see you in person, they look at you differently because they're looking at the child. They can't say, that's why they're educators. They can't look at the child and not want to do right. So take your child with you when you go see the superintendent. All right, Lilia, because I want you to do that. So I want to just encourage everyone with that word and just say we're in this together and God will see you through and he will have you will be a blessing. You'll be able to tell others how these things have been a blessing. I have Lynette saying that her director of special services comes to all her meetings. And I bet you that is ensuring that you get what you want because that person knows that you're not going away. So that's why you're here, to hear this information. You are a force to be reckoned with, and you're not going to take no for an answer. So no for an answer. Keep going. Keep asking, and it will come together. All right. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm so grateful. It inspires me, encourages me. You guys encourage me. So when we put these things out there, and I tell Jenny, I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm going to talk about, but somehow it comes together, right? So that's because we're on a journey together and we share the things that are on our heart. So on that note, thank you. And we will see you in 2 weeks. So the 27th is our next empowerment moment, Dr. G. All right, everyone, have a great evening. Goodbye now.
Bye.
Bye.